throughout those experiences, I always, throughout college, my time in the Army, my time at the oil company, my time at a consulting firm after that, I always had music in my hip pocket, and I always had my guitar with me. It was something I did on the weekends, and it was something that was kind of the underlying passion, I think, for me. Growing up back in Texas, country music just resonated for me. It makes it a lot less, it makes it a lot more doable. You can do it a bunch of times and you don't have to. I had my sights set on Nashville, and coming back to Nashville, Tennessee, really at the same time I went to college, which was up in upstate New York at West Point. I decided that I wanted to come to Nashville, and I wanted to pursue music and be around country music and be a songwriter. It took me almost 10 years to actually make it back to Nashville, Tennessee, and so I wouldn't trade those experiences in that 10 years for anything, because I feel like it prepared me for my time here and my time as a songwriter, and my time as an artist, and learning that in itself is a mountain to climb and quite the journey. Being in country music and being in Nashville was part of the goal, but the means to that end were just however I could make it work at the time. And so for me, I bought some rental houses that I was renting out, and I was trying to make that work. And I bought a bus that I would rent out to other bands, even though I wasn't even out traveling on the road as a band myself, and I would rent that to them. And I was even down to driving Uber and Lyft. And I was just trying to do anything and everything to make this career switch and this life change, to come back from a stable W-2, salary job to being a broke musician, as they say, and so that's what my first 6 months in Nashville was. I never felt more anxious and tense about where the next paycheck was going to come from, but at the same time, I felt free. I felt like, the world was mine, and I could carve that up however I wanted to. And it was kind of this two, dichotomous feeling of both. And I had a friend here that I'd met. I actually had played with my band back in Texas. We played a girl's wedding, and her brother was a songwriter here in Nashville. And she introduced us and said she knew I wanted to move to Nashville and was living up here half the time and back in Texas. And so she introduced us, and his name is Brandon Kinney. And we hit it off. He grew up in Texas, so we kind of had that in common. And he lived about an hour out of Nashville, but he had quite a successful songwriting career up to that point. And he had a bunkhouse at his farmhouse out in near Dixon, Tennessee, and it basically had one bunk bed in it and a chair and a coffee table, and he said, hey, if you want to move in here, feel free. He's like, we can ride at night and everything, and when I've got some free time, I'll write with you and kind of work that craft and help you kind of maybe some of the rides I go to, you can come with me, and I'll work on helping you get in a publishing deal and those type of things. So yeah, Brandon and his wife Jennifer, they had 4 kids, and they lived about an hour out of town, out in the country, and they let me sleep in their bunkhouse. And so basically the first 6 months that I was in Nashville, I was living in their bunkhouse and babysitting the kids and just driving into town and getting in any riding room that I could. 6 months after I moved here, Brandon had been pulling me into some of the rides that he had with other established songwriters in town and notable songwriters that we were able to get me a publishing deal, a co-publishing deal with him and a company called Pure Music here in Nashville, Tennessee. And it ended up being a great relationship and a great, really a landmark for me, you know, that a stepping stone for me to say, wow, this is a huge step along the way of having success in Nashville, is having, you know, a publishing deal that can help put a little gas on the fire and help expedite the process and help expedite the growth as a writer and as an artist. And so I started working with Peer Music, and then simultaneously I get a phone call from LA area code, and it was the Bachelor TV show, and they wanted to cast me to be a part of the show, be on the Bachelorette. And so I ended up going through the casting process. I was just saying yes to a lot of things at that time, and one thing led to another. They came out here and interviewed me, and then I ended up filming the show just a few months later. And, you know, at that point in my life, that was like a whole other, I guess, tangential kind of part of the story for me, part of the journey for me. I didn't know what the outcome was going to be from that, and how much that would change the, you know, trajectory of what I was doing and what my goals were, or my identity, you know, in the public and those type of things. But it had its own set of, you know, challenges as well, going through that whole process and taking me away from, you know, my time in Nashville and what I had built so far. It really kind of took me away from it for a couple months, and I filmed that show, and then you know, then there was millions of people that knew me as a reality TV star. Just, you know, I wake up one day and that's how I'm perceived, you know, across the nation, and it was interesting, and I think I'm still kind of processing through what were the implications. The lens that the public was seeing me through there was pros and cons to that, but it wasn't exactly what I perceived myself as, what I had, you know, spent, you know, the past 30 years growing into and developing into the person who I was, and so that was new for me, to see that my identity wasn't exactly what the identity of what the rest of the world saw me as. So I was caught between, you know, the creative side and my growth curve there, and then the high demand for the celebrity side that all just kind of happened out of the blue because of the TV show. The reason I spent almost a decade in the military and other jobs, always circling back to why I wanted to move to Nashville and just be here in whatever capacity I could be. And that's what I'll continue doing. That's what passion is for me.
Another long day.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Well, that's fun.
So we've successfully hit upload again.
Number 17 in a row.
17 Doc a Week episodes in a row.
Yeah.
On Monday.
On Monday.
If you liked what you saw, I mean, I hope they liked it. I liked it.
I did.
Yeah. If you like what you saw, hit that little subscribe button. The one that's just right down there. And what's the matter? Oh, you got the light going on there? It drives you crazy, doesn't it? This is just a little impromptu setup. Hit the subscribe button, share this story with your friends. We really want to keep telling these stories all year long, and your subscription actually helps. So like, subscribe, what do they, ring the bell or something?
Ring the bell if you want to be notified every time we put a new one out. And then like and share.
Yeah.
And then we've done 16 others. So if you like this one, go back and watch the old ones.
Yeah.